Hi, my name is Kris Hudson with Martin Deerline. Today we want to talk about some header maintenance. Just want to make sure you guys don't overlook the condition of your knife to start the season. First couple things you want to check. You want to make sure that your knife is in good shape and it's not worn out. You want to make sure your teeth are nice and sharp still. You want to make sure that the guard itself, the edge here, is still nice and sharp and not grooved in. If you are getting a lot of issues where the knife is stalling out and it looks like there's crop not actually being cut, it's just pulling it in, the guards could be a definite cause of that. Next thing you want to check is you want to make sure that the hold down itself, you can get a business card on the inside of that. And once that's kind of set, you run it for a while, shut it off, make sure that it's not hot in any spots. To adjust that, you'd loosen off these two nuts and then you'd adjust with this bolt in the back and then tighten it down. And just check with a business card. If it's a little tight, just make sure you push the knife down. That's good. Okay, next we're going to talk about reel finger clearance to the knife. This header we have is a split reel 40 foot. This will fall for the 45 foot also. This setting will not work for the single reel 35s and 30 foot headers. That's a different procedure we can talk about later. The first thing you want to do is you want to get your reel lined up over top of the knife itself. That'll be the tightest distance to the knife itself. Right now we have the header in flex mode and it's all the way down. You want to make sure, we're going to show you here in a minute, you want to make sure that this table is all the way up at its tightest point. So we're going to put the header down on the ground. You're going to see how much that knife is going to suck up. So the gap you're looking for with the knife all the way up is 1.5 inches from the knife to the reel finger. So now that we've got the combine running, we're going to show you why you have to set the knife all the way up as close as it can before you set the reel itself. See how much that knife came up and how much tighter it is now? That's the gap you want to set to 1.5 inches right there. Darren's in the cab. He's going to set the pressure to as high as it goes, which should be about 3,000 psi on the gauge. And you see this knife will come right up. Okay, so now that the knife's up as tight as it goes, Darren will just shift the reel out. So it's right over top of the knife. Now you set that gap to 1.5 inches on the split reel. You got your turnbuckle on both ends of the header, and then you have a double turnbuckle in the center on the center anchor. Another field adjustment we're going to talk about is the finger adjustment for aggressiveness for picking material off the ground. Right now it's set in the most relaxed position, so this is the least aggressive. Basically right now it's just going to walk that material across the knife. We're going to adjust it to the most aggressive, so we're going to pull this handle out and then adjust the fingers there, lock it in. So now that reel is going to grab more material and pull it across the knife and should help you pick some of that material off the ground if it gets flat this fall. Another adjustment too is you can adjust the reel. This is in the most advanced position, so the reel will be as far out as it can. Don't overlook this adjustment if the crop gets flat this fall. Okay, here we have a single reel 30-foot header, but this applies to a single reel 35-foot also. The adjustment is a little bit different on this one, only because the gap has to be a little bit bigger to compensate for that big single reel. If you're going down the field and that reel bounces a little bit, that gap gets a little tighter and you could nip the fingers if you don't use the right adjustment. To get that gap set, you set your knife clearance to 2¼ inches. Make sure that gap's set right, and then spin your reel by hand. Make sure it doesn't touch all the way through the range of stroke. And then lastly, just before you engage anything and run it, take the whole header and put it right on the ground. Put the weight of the header on that knife, and it sucks it up just a little bit more. And then just spin that reel by hand and make sure your knife is not contacting the reels.